The marketplace of Haven's Gate Station buzzed with life from 1,000 different worlds. Aliens of every shape and color walked past the endless rows of shops and food stalls. The air smelled like spices, fuel, and the metal walls that kept the cold vacuum of space away. Bright holographic signs flashed in dozens of languages, advertising everything from weapons to exotic foods. In the middle of all this noise and movement, a young dragon girl sat alone on the cold floor. Her name was Hannah, and she was trying very hard to be invisible. Her scales, which had been bright blue and shining, looked dull and gray. Her clothes were torn and dirty. She wrapped her thin arms around her stomach, trying to stop the painful hunger inside. Hannah watched people walk past. Nobody looked at her, or when they did look, they turned away quickly, like she was something disgusting. She was used to it now. This was her life for the past 2 years, since her clan threw her out. The smell of cooking food from the nearby stalls made her stomach hurt even more. She had not eaten anything in 3 days. Yesterday, she found half a protein bar in a trash container. The day before, a kind Valkyrie merchant gave her some old bread. But today, there was nothing. A group of tall dragon people walked toward the marketplace. Hannah's heart dropped. She knew them. They were Dracri, her own species. She tried to make herself smaller, hoping they would not see her. But they did see her. Well, what do we have here? A female voice said loudly. It was Yuna, a wealthy merchant who was related to Hannah's family. She wore expensive clothes covered in shining jewels. Her scales were perfect and bright red. Is that little Hannah? The fireless failure. The other Dracri merchants stopped and stared. Some of them laughed. I heard she was still alive somewhere. One of them said, I thought she would be dead by now. Look how weak she looks, another one said with disgust. She brings shame to all Dracri. Yuna walked closer. Her sharp eyes looked at Hannah like she was looking at trash. You should not be here, girl. This marketplace is for real merchants, not beggars who cannot even breathe fire. Hannah kept her head down. She did not say anything. What could she say? Everything they said was true. She was fireless. In Dracri culture, breathing fire was everything. It was how they hunted, how they fought, how they proved they were strong. And Hannah was born without this ability. My mother told me your clan threw you out. Yuna continued, loud enough for everyone nearby to hear. She said you were a genetic mistake. A Dracri who cannot breathe fire is not really Dracri at all. Other aliens stopped to watch now. Some looked uncomfortable. Others seemed entertained by the drama. Nobody stepped forward to help. You know what the worst part is? Yuna said, bending down to look at Hannah's face. You are still alive. You are too weak to survive properly, but too stubborn to die. You just exist here, making all of us look bad. Hannah felt hot tears in her eyes, but she refused to let them fall. She would not give Yuna that satisfaction. After a few more cruel words, Yuna and her group finally walked away, still laughing. The crowd that had gathered slowly went back to their business, and Hannah was alone again. She sat there for another hour, watching people eat and shop and live their normal lives. Her stomach hurt so much now that she felt dizzy. She needed food. Soon, her eyes moved to a fruit stand nearby. The vendor was busy with customers. It would be easy to grab something and run. Hannah had never stolen before, but maybe today was a day she had no choice. She stood up slowly. Her legs felt weak. She took one step toward the fruit stand. Closing time, a male voice said nearby. Hannah turned to look. A human man was closing up a small food stall about 20 feet away. The sign above his stall said Earth Kitchen in several languages. He was young, maybe in his late 20s, with dark hair and kind eyes. He wore a simple cook's apron covered in food stains. Hannah had seen him before. His stall sold something called Earth Food. She did not know what that was exactly. She had never been to Earth. Most aliens said humans were not very important in the galaxy. They were not strong fighters. They did not have advanced technology, like some species. They were just average at everything. The human finished closing his stall. He pulled out a container from his bag and sat down on a bench nearby. He opened a container, and the smell of food hit Hannah like a wave. Her stomach made a loud noise. The human looked up and saw her staring. For a moment, they just looked at each other. Hannah expected him to look away or tell her to leave, like everyone else did, but he did not. Instead, he stood up and walked toward her. Hannah felt nervous. Was he going to tell her to go away? Was he going to call security? The human stopped a few feet away from her. Then he did something Hannah did not expect at all. He sat down on the floor next to her, right there on the cold metal floor, in his clean cook's clothes. He sat down beside a dirty, homeless dragon girl. He opened his food container and looked at her. "You are hungry," he said. It was not a question. His voice was gentle and spoke Galactic Common with a strange accent. Hannah did not know what to say. She just nodded. The human took out a second container from his bag and split his food between both containers. Steam rose from the food. Hannah could see rice and vegetables and some kind of soup with red broth. "Share a meal with me," the human said simply. He held out one of the containers to her. Hannah stared at the food, then at the human, then at the food again. Was this real? Was he really offering to share his food with her? A stranger? A fireless failure that even her own species hated? "It is okay," the human said with a small smile. "My name is Juno. I am a cook, and I made too much food today." This was clearly a lie. Hannah could tell he had made exactly enough for himself, but it was a kind lie. With shaking hands, Hannah took the container. The warmth of it felt good against her cold fingers. She looked at Juno, trying to understand why he was doing this. "Why?" she whispered. Her voice was rough from not using it much. "You do not know me." Juno shrugged. "On Earth, we have a saying. Breaking bread together makes friends out of strangers. You look like you needed a friend." Hannah felt the tears come now, and she could not stop them. They ran down her gray scales as she lifted the food to her mouth. The first bite of warm soup and rice tasted better than anything she could remember. It was spicy and savory and full of flavors she had never tried before. Juno did not say anything about her tears. He just ate his own food quietly, sitting beside her on the floor while the busy station moved around them. For the first time in 2 years, Hannah was not eating alone. For the first time in 2 years, someone had shown her kindness without wanting anything back. She ate slowly, trying to make the food last, but it was gone too quickly. When she finished, she looked at Juno with gratitude she could not put into words. "Thank you," she finally said. Juno smiled. "You are welcome. Same time tomorrow." Hannah could not believe what she was hearing. "Tomorrow?" "Sure," Juno said, standing up and brushing off his apron. "I close my stall at the same time every day. If you are here, we can share dinner again." He walked back to his stall, packed up his things, and left. Just like that. No lecture about working harder. No demands for payment. No pity in his eyes. Just simple kindness. Hannah sat on the floor for a long time after he left, holding the empty container. Her stomach was full for the first time in days. But more than that, something else felt different. For 2 years, she had felt completely alone in the universe. But maybe, just maybe, she was not alone anymore. Tomorrow, she decided she would come back. And the day after that, and for as long as this strange, kind human named Juno was willing to share his meals with a fireless dragon girl that nobody else wanted. Hannah came back the next day. She arrived early, before Juno closed the stall, and waited at a distance. She did not want to bother him while he was working. She just wanted to make sure he was real, that yesterday had really happened. When the station's artificial sun began to dim for the evening cycle, Juno started cleaning his cooking equipment. Hannah's heart beat faster. Would he remember? Would he still want to share food with her? Juno looked up and saw her. His face broke into a warm smile. He waved at her to come closer. "Right on time," he said cheerfully. "I hope you like noodles today." That was how it started. Every evening for the next week, Hannah met Juno after he closed his stall. They would sit together on the bench or on the floor, and he would share his dinner with her. Sometimes it was rice and soup. Sometimes it was something called pasta. Once, He brought her dumplings that reminded her a little of food from her childhood. Juno never asked her uncomfortable questions. He never made her feel bad about being hungry or homeless. He just treated her like a normal person. They talked about simple things: the weather control system on the station, the different aliens who visited his stall, the strange foods from different planets. After a week, something changed. Hannah arrived at the usual time, but this time she brought something with her. It was a small bucket and a cleaning cloth. "What is this?" Juno asked, looking surprised. "You share your food with me every day," Hannah said quietly. "I want to help you. I can clean your stall, wash your dishes. I am good at cleaning." Juno looked at her for a long moment. Then he smiled. "Okay, but you are not my servant. You are my helper. There's a difference." From that day on, Hannah helped Juno with his work. After he closed the stall, she would wash all the dishes and cooking equipment. She would clean the counter and organize the supplies. Her Drackery strength, even weakened by hunger, was still useful for carrying heavy water containers and lifting big pots. Juno paid her in food and also in knowledge. He taught her about Earth cuisine. He showed her how to chop vegetables properly, how to measure spices, how to tell when rice was cooked perfectly. Hannah discovered she had an amazing sense of smell and taste. She could detect tiny differences in flavors that even Juno sometimes missed. "This is a Drackery trait," she explained one evening while helping him prepare ingredients. "All my people have strong senses. It helped us hunt in the old days. But you cannot breathe fire," Juno said carefully. It was the first time he had mentioned it directly. Hannah's hands stopped moving. She stared at the vegetables she was cutting. "No, I was born without it. That is why my clan exiled me when I was 14. A Drackery who cannot breathe fire cannot hunt, cannot fight, cannot protect the clan. I am useless to them." "You are not useless," Juno said firmly. "You are one of the hardest workers I have ever met, and your sense of taste is incredible. On Earth, we would call you a super taster. Chefs would be jealous of your ability." Hannah felt warmth spread through her chest. Nobody had ever said anything like that to her before. On Earth, do you have people who are different? Who cannot do what others can do? Juno laughed. "Hannah, everyone on Earth is different. Some people are tall, some are short, some are strong, some are smart, some can run fast, some can paint beautiful pictures. We do not throw people away because they are different. We find out what they are good at and we help them do that." "That sounds nice," Hannah said softly. "It is not perfect," Juno admitted. "We have problems too. But we learned something important a long time ago. We are not the strongest species. We are not the smartest. We cannot breathe fire or fly, or read minds. But we are strong together. One human alone is weak, but humans working together can do amazing things." Hannah thought about this while they worked. The idea was so different from everything she had been taught. Drackery culture celebrated individual strength. Everyone was expected to survive on their own. Asking for help was seen as weakness. But maybe the Drackery way was not the only way. 3 months passed. Hannah looked completely different now. Her scales had regained their natural bright blue color. She had gained healthy weight. Her eyes were clear and alert. She wore clean clothes that Juno had helped her buy with her earnings. She even had her own small sleeping pod in the station's low-cost housing section. The Earth Kitchen stall had become more successful too. Word had spread about the food quality. Hannah's exceptional taste had helped Juno improve his recipes. She had even created some new dishes by combining Earth spices with ingredients from other planets. Other vendors noticed. Some were friendly and congratulated Juno on his success. But others whispered and complained. They said he was wasting his time on a broken Drackery. They said she would betray him eventually. They laughed at him for being soft-hearted. Juno ignored all of them. One evening, a human man in a security uniform visited the stall. He was tall and serious-looking, but his eyes were kind. "Juno, old friend," he said warmly. "Miho." Juno greeted him with a big smile. "It has been weeks. Where have you been?" "Extra shifts," Miho said tiredly. Station security has been busy. Pirates have been more active lately. He noticed Hannah washing dishes in the back. Who is your helper? This is Hannah. Juno said, Hannah, this is Miho. We went to the same school back on Earth. Miho nodded politely at Hannah. She nodded back, feeling shy. Miho seemed nice, but she was always nervous around security officers. They usually told her to move along, or leave areas where she was not wanted. But Miho did not treat her badly. He just ordered some food and chatted with Juno about old times on Earth. Before he left, he pulled Juno aside. Hannah pretended not to listen, but her sharp Drackery hearing caught every word. Be careful, Miho said quietly. I heard that some Drackery merchants have been complaining about the girl. They filed a complaint with station management. What kind of complaint? Juno asked, his voice suddenly serious. They say she is disturbing legitimate businesses by being here. They want her removed from the station. Miho looked uncomfortable. Station rules say anyone without proper work documentation or sponsorship can be deported if enough complaints are filed. She has about a week to prove she belongs here legally. Juno's face went pale. They are trying to get rid of her. Probably, Miho agreed. Look, I will do what I can to slow down the process. But you need to make her legal. Fast. After Miho left, Juno stood very still for a long moment. Hannah came out from the back. I heard, she said quietly. It is okay. I knew this could not last forever. I will leave before they deport me. Maybe I can find another station. No, Juno interrupted firmly. You are not going anywhere. But tomorrow, first thing in the morning, we are going to the station registration office. I am going to officially register you as my employee and business partner. That will make you legal. Hannah stared at him in shock. Business partner? Juno, I am just your dishwasher. You do not need to. You are more than a dishwasher, Juno said. You have helped me improve my recipes. You have brought in new customers with your fusion dishes. You work harder than anyone I know. Yes, you are my business partner. And nobody is going to take you away. Tears filled Hannah's eyes again. In the 3 months she had known Juno, he had given her more than food and work. He had given her dignity, hope, a future. Why are you so kind to me? She whispered. Juno smiled. Because someone was kind to me once when I needed it. When I first started my food business on Earth, I failed 3 times. Lost all my money. My family was disappointed. My friends said I should give up. But one old chef gave me a job in his kitchen. He taught me that failure does not mean you are worthless. It just means you are learning. He put a hand on Hannah's shoulder. You did not fail, Hannah. Your clan failed you. They threw away someone valuable because she was different. But their loss is my gain. You are going to be an amazing chef one day. I can see it. The next morning, they went to the registration office. The process was complicated. But Juno handled everything. He registered Earth Kitchen as an official business. He listed Hannah as a co-owner and employee. He paid all the fees without complaining. When they walked out with the official documents, Hannah felt like she was floating. For the first time since her exile, she was somebody. She existed in the station's records. She was legal. She belonged somewhere. But far across the marketplace, someone was watching them with cold, angry eyes. Yuna had seen everything, and she was not happy. To her, Hannah's success was an insult to everything Drackery stood for. This human's kindness was making Hannah soft, making her forget her place. Something had to be done about it, and Yuna knew exactly what that something would be. 3 months had passed since Hannah became an official partner in Earth Kitchen. The small stall had transformed into one of the most popular food spots on Haven's Gate Station. Lines of customers formed every day, waiting to taste the unique fusion dishes that Hannah and Juno created together. Hannah had changed even more. She moved with confidence now, her blue scales gleaming under the station lights. She smiled when she talked to customers. She had even made friends with some of the other vendors. The scared, starving girl who sat alone on the floor was gone. In her place was a young chef who knew her worth. One busy afternoon, Hannah was preparing her special dragon's breath noodles, a dish that combined earth spices with Drakri flavoring techniques. The noodles were so popular that they often sold out within an hour. She worked quickly and efficiently, her enhanced senses telling her exactly when each ingredient was perfectly cooked. Juno watched her with pride. "You are a natural at this," he said. "Have you ever thought about opening your own restaurant someday?" Hannah laughed. "Maybe, but I am happy here with you. This feels like home." The word home felt strange on her tongue. She had not had a real home since she was 14. But this small food stall, with its cooking smells and busy atmosphere, felt more like home than her clan's caves ever did. That evening, as they were closing up, the station's announcement system crackled to life. "Attention, all station residents. A diplomatic delegation from the Drakri homeworld has arrived. Please extend all courtesies to our honored guests." Hannah froze. Her hands trembled slightly as she washed a pot. Drakri diplomats meant military officers, important people, the kind of people who would be very interested in a fireless exile living on a space station. Juno noticed her fear. "Hey, it will be okay. You are legal now. They cannot do anything to you." But Hannah was not so sure. She knew how Drakri thought. Legal papers meant nothing if honor was at stake. Her fears came true the next day. Yuna appeared at the stall with a tall, powerful-looking Drakri male. His scales were deep red and covered in ritual scars that marked him as a warrior. His eyes were sharp and calculating. He wore the formal armor of a Drakri commander. "Tejin," Yuna said sweetly to the warrior, "this is a human I told you about, and that," she pointed at Hannah, "is your disgrace of a cousin." Hannah's blood went cold. Tejin. She knew that name. He was Yuna's brother, and one of the most respected commanders in the Drakri military. He was also distantly related to Hannah's family. Tejin looked at Hannah with cold evaluation. His gaze moved to Juno, then back to Hannah. "So it is true. A fireless failure, working as a servant to humans. You bring shame to every Drakri in the galaxy." "She is not a servant," Juno said firmly, stepping forward. "She is my business partner, and she is one of the best chefs on this station." Tejin's eyes narrowed. A human defending a Drakri. How amusing. He turned back to Hannah. "You should have died with honor after your exile. Instead, you chose to live in shame. The delegation has decided you must leave the station immediately and return to Drakri space to face judgment." "She has done nothing wrong," Juno argued. "She has legal documentation. She runs a legitimate business. You have no authority here." "We have authority over our own people," Tejin said coldly. "Drakri law states that exiles must accept their fate with dignity. She has violated this by seeking help from aliens, by clinging to life when she should have embraced death." "That is insane," Juno said, his voice rising with anger. "You want her to die just because she was born different?" Several Drakri warriors had gathered behind Tejin now. Station security guards also appeared, including Miho. The situation was becoming tense. Customers backed away nervously. Tejin studied Juno with something like curiosity. "You truly believe she has value?" "I know she has value," Juno said. "She survived alone for 2 years in a hostile galaxy, without any of the advantages other Drakri have. She taught herself to cook. She built a life from nothing. That takes more strength than breathing fire ever could." "Interesting," Tejin said slowly. "You challenge our understanding of strength." "Yes, I do," Juno said firmly. "Your people threw away someone talented and hardworking just because she was different. That is not strength. That is waste." Murmurs spread through the crowd that had gathered. Some Drakri looked angry at Juno's words, but some of the younger ones looked thoughtful. Tejin was silent for a long moment. Then he spoke. "Very well, human, you claim she has worth. Prove it. I issue a formal challenge." He turned to address the crowd. "In 3 days, there will be a cooking competition. Hannah will face our delegation's master chef, Daehoon. The task will be to prepare a traditional Drakri warrior's feast. If she succeeds, we will leave her alone. If she fails, she returns with us to face exile court." Hannah felt her heart sink. A traditional Drackery feast required fire breathing to cook properly. The meat had to be seared with dragon flame. The bread had to be baked in dragon fire. Everything about the feast was designed around the one ability she did not have. "That is impossible," she whispered. "Exactly," Una said with a cruel smile. "You cannot cook traditional food without fire. You will fail, and everyone will see you for the worthless creature you are." Teijin looked at Juno. "Do you accept the challenge on her behalf?" Juno looked at Hannah. She was terrified, her scales pale with fear. He knew this was unfair. He knew it was designed for her to fail. But he also saw something else in the challenge. An opportunity. "We accept," Juno said clearly. Gasps spread to the crowd. Even Miho looked shocked. Hannah stared at Juno like he had lost his mind. After the Drackery left, Hannah grabbed Juno's arm. "Why did you accept? I cannot do this. I cannot breathe fire. I will fail and have to leave." "No, you will not," Juno said calmly. "Because we're not going to cook the Drackery way. We're going to cook the human way." "What does that mean?" "It means we're going to use human ingenuity to solve a Drackery problem. If you cannot breathe fire, we will make fire another way." For the next 3 days, Juno barely slept. He contacted every human engineer and scientist on the station. He studied Drackery cooking methods in the station's database. He experimented with different heating tools and temperature controls. Hannah worked beside him, using her enhanced senses to test and adjust. Together, they developed something revolutionary. Using portable plasma torches, carefully calibrated heat stones, and precise temperature monitoring, they could replicate the exact effects of dragon fire, maybe even improve on them. Miho helped too, using a security clearance to get them access to specialized equipment. Other humans on the station heard about the challenge and came to help. A human engineer named Jaiwin designed a custom heating system. A scientist named Salmon calculated exact temperature curves. Even customers from Earth Kitchen brought supplies and encouragement. "This is what humans do," Juno explained to Hannah as they worked late into the night. "One of us alone might not be strong enough, but together we can solve any problem. We lift each other up." Hannah felt something warm growing in her chest. She had spent her whole life being told she was worthless because she was weak alone. But maybe being alone was the problem. Maybe real strength was knowing when to ask for help. On the morning of the competition, Hannah stood in her small sleeping pod and looked at herself in the mirror. Her scales were bright blue and healthy. Her eyes were clear. She wore a clean chef's uniform that Juno had bought for her. She thought about the scared, hungry girl she had been 6 months ago. That girl would have given up already. That girl would have accepted that she was worthless. But that girl was gone. In her place was someone new, someone who had learned that strength came in many forms. Hannah touched a cooking knife at her belt, a gift from Juno. She took a deep breath. Today, she would face the best Drackery chef in front of hundreds of spectators. Today, she would either prove that a fireless dragon could succeed, or she would lose everything she had built. But she would not face it alone. She had Juno. She had Miho. She had all the humans who believed in her. She had learned the human way of being strong. And maybe, just maybe, that would be enough. She left her pod and walked toward the central plaza where the competition would be held. The station's artificial sun was rising, casting golden light across the metal floors. Somewhere ahead, Juno was waiting for her. Together, they would show the galaxy that there was more than one way to be strong. The real test was about to begin. The central plaza of Haven's Gate Station had been transformed into a massive cooking arena. Thousands of spectators filled the viewing areas, representing dozens of different alien species. Holographic cameras floated in the air, broadcasting the event across the station and beyond. The smell of excitement and anticipation filled the air. Hannah stood at her cooking station, trying to keep her hands from shaking. Across from her, about 30 feet away, stood Daehoon. He was an older Drackery with golden scales and eyes that had seen decades of cooking experience. He wore the ceremonial robes of a master chef, decorated with symbols of his achievements. He looked at Hannah with a mixture of pity and disdain, like she was a child playing at being a cook. Juno stood beside Hannah at their station. He squeezed her shoulder gently. Remember what we practiced. Trust your senses. Trust the equipment. Trust yourself. Hannah nodded. Their cooking station was equipped with all the specialized tools they had spent 3 days perfecting. Plasma torches with precise temperature controls. Heat stones arranged in specific patterns. Digital thermometers that could measure heat down to a single degree. To traditional Drackery, it probably looked like cheating. But to Juno, it was just smart cooking. At the judges' table sat 3 beings. One was a Valkyrie food critic named Zealous, famous throughout the galaxy for his refined taste. The second was a human chef from Earth's Culinary Institute, a stern-looking woman named Professor Kim. The third was an elderly Drackery named Elder Jiho, known for being fair and wise. Taejin stood near the judges, his arms crossed. Yuna stood beside him, a cruel smile on her face. She clearly expected Hannah to fail spectacularly. A station official stepped forward with a microphone. Welcome to this historic cooking challenge. Both chefs will prepare a traditional Drackery warrior's feast. This includes flame-seared Korthak meat, ember-kissed root vegetables, and ash-spiced warrior's bread. Cooking time is 3 hours. Judges will evaluate based on taste, technique, and authenticity. Chefs begin. A loud horn sounded. Daehoon immediately began breathing controlled streams of fire onto his cooking stones, heating them to the perfect temperature. The crowd murmured in appreciation at his skill and control. Hannah activated her plasma torches. They hummed to life with a blue glow. She began heating her cooking stones with precision, watching the temperature displays carefully. Juno helped her prepare ingredients, moving with practiced efficiency. The first task was the Korthak meat, a massive cut from a beast that lived on the Drackery homeworld. It needed to be seared at extremely high heat to lock in the juices, then cooked slowly to achieve the perfect texture. Daehoon worked with confident, flowing movements. He breathed fire directly onto his meat, rotating it with skilled precision. The flames danced across the surface, creating a beautiful charred crust. The crowd of Drackery spectators cheered. Hannah used her plasma torches differently. She had learned that dragon fire, while impressive, was actually inconsistent in temperature. It fluctuated based on the dragon's breathing and control. Her plasma torches maintained exact, constant heat. She seared the meat section by section, using her enhanced Drackery senses to detect the perfect moment for each area. Juno monitored the internal temperature with their digital thermometers. 90 degrees, 100, 120, perfect. Move to the next section. After 30 minutes, both chefs presented their first dish to the judges. The crowd grew quiet as the judges began tasting. Elder Jiho tried Daehoon's meat first. He nodded approvingly. Excellent technique. Traditional and well executed. Then he tried Hannah's meat. His eyes widened slightly. He took another bite, chewing slowly. Interesting. The searing is perfectly even throughout. The internal temperature is consistent from edge to center. How did you achieve this? Precise heat control, Hannah said quietly. No hot spots, no cold spots. Just perfect temperature throughout the cooking process. Professor Kim tried both dishes. Daehoon's is very good, traditional preparation, but Hannah's shows innovation while maintaining the essential character of the dish. The texture is superior. She marked her score pad. Zealous, the Valkyrie critic, was the hardest to please. He tried both dishes multiple times. Finally, he spoke. Daehoon's meat is what I expected. Excellent, but expected. Hannah's meat is what I did not expect. It is better. The crowd erupted in shocked whispers. Yuna's smile disappeared. Taejin's expression remained unreadable, but his eyes showed interest. The score was announced. Hannah had won the first round. Daehoon's confident expression cracked slightly. He had not expected this. He increased his focus for the second round. The second task was the root vegetables. This was traditionally the hardest part because vegetables were delicate. Too much fire destroyed them. Too little fire left them raw. It required incredible control. Daehoon created a carefully controlled bed of flames, adjusting his breath to maintain gentle, consistent heat. He placed the vegetables on special grates above the flames. His technique was masterful, refined over decades of practice. Hannah used a different approach entirely. She had created what Juno called temperature zones, using different arrangement of heat stones and plasma torches. Each vegetable type got its own perfect temperature. The hard roots got higher heat. The softer vegetables got gentler warmth. Her Drackery senses told her exactly when each piece reached ideal doneness. She also added something unexpected. Using earth spices and techniques Juno had taught her, she created flavor combinations that enhanced the natural Drackery taste rather than replacing it. A touch of earth garlic here, a hint of rosemary there. Nothing that changed the essential character, but everything that elevated it. When the judges tasted the second round, their reactions were even stronger. Daehoon's vegetables were perfect examples of traditional cooking, but Hannah's vegetables were something new. They were familiar yet surprising, traditional yet innovative. "This is extraordinary," Zella said, speaking to Hannah directly. "You have honored the tradition while transcending its limitations. This is what culinary evolution looks like." Elder Geo nodded slowly. "I have eaten Drackery food for 90 years. This is the finest vegetable preparation I have ever experienced." Even Professor Kim, who had remained stern throughout, smiled. "Outstanding work." Hannah won the second round as well. The crowd's reaction was mixed now. Many aliens cheered loudly. Some younger Drackery looked excited and inspired, but the traditional Drackery, including many of Tajin's warriors, looked angry and confused. This was not how things were supposed to go. Daehoon stood at his station, looking shaken. He had never lost a competition before, and now he was losing to a fireless exile, a girl he had dismissed as worthless. The final round was the warrior's bread. This was the most sacred part of the feast. The bread had to be baked in ash and ember, requiring constant flame to maintain temperature. It was the ultimate test of fire-breathing control. Daehoon poured everything he had into this final round. He created a perfect bed of embers, maintaining them with steady, controlled flames. He mixed the dough with practiced hands. He shaped it according to ancient tradition. Every movement was precise, honed by 40 years of experience. Hannah worked with equal intensity. She used heat stones arranged in a special pattern that Jaiwin, the human engineer, had designed. The stones created an environment that perfectly mimicked the conditions inside traditional ash and ember. She monitored everything with scientific precision, while letting her Drackery instincts guide the artistic decisions. But she also added something special. She had studied ancient Earth bread-making techniques and found surprising similarities to Drackery methods. She incorporated a fermentation process that enhanced the bread's texture. She used a steam injection system that created a perfect crust. She combined the wisdom of two worlds. As the bread baked, the entire plaza filled with incredible aroma. Even Daehoon paused to smell it, his expression showing surprise. When the 3-hour time limit ended, both chefs presented their final dishes. The judges took their time with this round, understanding its importance. They tasted Daehoon's bread first. It was perfect, traditional, exactly as warrior's bread should be. Elder Geo closed his eyes, remembering the bread of his youth. "Flawless," he said simply. Then they tasted Hannah's bread. Silence fell over the entire plaza. The judges took bite after bite, their expressions showing wonder. Finally, Elder Geo spoke. "This is what warrior's bread was meant to be. What it could have been if we had not stopped evolving our techniques centuries ago. This honors tradition while pushing it forward." The final scores were calculated. The judges conferred briefly. Then the station official announced the results. The winner of this competition, by unanimous decision, is Hannah. The plaza exploded with sound. Cheers, gasps, arguments. Cameras flashed. Juno hugged Hannah tightly as she burst into tears of relief and joy. Daehoon stood at his station for a long moment. Then he did something unexpected. He walked across the arena to Hannah. The crowd fell silent, watching tensely. Daehoon stopped in front of Hannah. Then he bowed low, a gesture of deep respect. "You have honored the spirit of Drackery cooking while transcending its limitations. I am defeated, but the art of cooking is elevated." He removed the ceremonial chef's blade and offered it to her. "You deserve this more than I do." Hannah took the blade with trembling hands. In Drackery culture, a master giving his blade to a student was the highest honor possible. The crowd cheered again, louder this time. Even some of the traditional Drackery were applauding now. But then Tae-Jin stepped forward, his expression serious. The challenge is satisfied. You have proven your worth. The plaza grew quiet again. However, Tae-Jin continued, his voice carrying across the space. You have also proven you are no longer truly Drackery. You have become something else. Something new. Before anyone could react to whether this was an insult or an observation, loud alarms suddenly blared throughout the station. Red emergency lights flashed. The station's announcement system crackled urgently. Emergency alert. Emergency alert. Pirate attack on civilian transport vessel Drackery Hope. 200 civilian passengers in danger. All military personnel respond immediately. Tae-Jin's expression changed to cold fury. He immediately activated his communicator, barking orders to his warriors. But Hannah could hear the problem in his voice. Not enough warriors. Too few ships. The rescue would fail. And 200 innocent Drackery would die. The emergency alarms continued to blare across Haven's gate station. Tae-Jin spoke rapidly into his communicator, coordinating with his warriors. His face was grim. Hannah could hear every word with her sharp Drackery hearing, and what she heard made her blood run cold. How many warriors do we have available? Tae-Jin demanded. 12, Commander. A voice responded to the communicator. The rest are scattered across 3 different systems on patrol. 12 against 40 pirates. Tae-Jin's jaw clenched. We need at least 20 warriors for a successful rescue. With 12, we might save half the hostages at best. Yuna stood nearby, her face pale. My cousin's family is on that transport, she whispered. For once, her cruel expression was gone, replaced by genuine fear. Hannah felt something stirring inside her chest. 200 Drackery civilians, including children, families, people who might have once rejected her, but who did not deserve to die. She thought about the young Hannah, who had been thrown away by her clan. Would any of those families have helped her then? Probably not. But that did not matter now. She stepped forward. I want to help. Everyone turned to look at her. Tae-Jin's expression was unreadable. You? A fireless exile? What could you possibly do? I may not breathe fire, Hannah said, her voice steady despite her fear. But I am still Drackery. I am strong. I can fight. Let me help save them. This is not cooking. Tae-Jin said harshly. This is war. You would only get in the way. Before Hannah could respond, Juno stepped forward. She will not be alone. He turned to the crowd that still filled the plaza. Any humans willing to help rescue those people? We need volunteers. Now! For a moment, nothing happened. Then Miho pushed through the crowd in his security uniform. I am in Jaiwan, the engineer who would help build their cooking equipment. Raise her hand. I can hack their ship systems. Salmon, the scientist, stepped forward. I know ship layouts. I can help navigate. One by one, more humans came forward. Station workers, merchants, even some of Juno's regular customers. Within minutes, 30 humans stood together, ready to help rescue people they did not even know. Tae-Jin stared at them in disbelief. You are not warriors. You are shopkeepers and engineers. You will die. Maybe, Juno said calmly. But we cannot just stand here and do nothing while people die. That is not the human way. Hannah looked at all the humans who had volunteered. These people who had shown her kindness when her own species had not. These people who believed that helping others was more important than personal safety. She felt pride swell in her chest. She turned to Tae-Jin. You said, I am no longer truly Drackery. You are right. I have learned something better. I have learned that real strength is not about fighting alone. Real strength is about working together. Let's show you what that means. Tae-Jin looked at his warriors, then at the volunteers, then back at Hannah. Finally, he made a decision. Fine, but we do this my way. I command the operation. Everyone follows orders. Understood. Understood, Juno said. The other humans nodded. They gathered in a briefing room near the station's docking bay. Taejin pulled up a holographic display of the captured transport ship. The pirates call themselves the Crimson Reavers. 40 fighters, heavily armed. They have locked all hostages in the cargo bay. They are demanding ransom, and if we attack directly, they will start killing hostages immediately. Then we do not attack directly, Juno said. He looked at the ship layout carefully. We use deception, strategy. We make them think we're doing one thing while we do something else. Jaiwin studied the display. I can hack into their systems remotely if I can get close enough, disable their weapons, lock their doors, control their life support. But I need someone to plant a transmitter on their hull. I can do that, Miho said. Get me close in a small stealth pod. Taejin frowned. Even if we disable their weapons, they still have the hostages. The moment they realize we are there, they will kill people. Hannah spoke up. What if they do not realize we are there? What if they think their systems are just malfunctioning? Pirates use old ships with bad maintenance. If things start breaking, they might just think it is normal. Salmon nodded excitedly. We make it look like accidents. Slow failures instead of sudden sabotage. They will waste time trying to fix problems instead of preparing for attack. Taejin looked impressed despite himself. And while they're distracted by technical failures, my warriors move into the maintenance shafts and free the hostages. Exactly, Juno said. But we need to coordinate perfectly. Everyone doing their part at the exact right time. They spent the next hour planning every detail. The Drakri warriors would handle the actual fighting when necessary. The humans would handle everything else: hacking, navigation, distraction, technical support. It was not a traditional Drakri plan based on overwhelming force. It was a human plan based on intelligence, teamwork, and precise coordination. As they prepared to leave, Yuna approached Hannah. Her expression was complicated, mixing shame and desperation. My cousin has 2 young children on that ship. Please, save them. Hannah looked at the woman who had mocked her and tried to have her deported. She could have been cruel in return. Instead, she just nodded. I will try. The rescue team took 3 small ships and approached the pirate vessel carefully. Miho piloted a tiny stealth pod close to the hull and planted Jaiwin's transmitter. The pirates never noticed. Jaiwin's fingers flew across her computer display. I am in their systems. Starting the failure sequence. Life support fluctuation in 3, 2, 1. Inside the pirate ship, confused voices came through the communication channel that Salmon had tapped. What is wrong with the air recyclers? Someone check the engine room. Door 3 just locked itself. Is the ship falling apart? The weapons are showing error codes. Get someone on that now. The pirates scattered throughout their ship, trying to fix multiple technical problems. They never realized they were being manipulated. Taejin and his warriors moved through the maintenance shaft silently. Hannah went with them, along with Juno and several other humans. Her heart pounded, but she kept moving forward. They reached the cargo bay where the hostages were being held. Only 2 guards stood outside. Taejin's warriors took them down quickly and quietly. Inside the bay, 200 frightened Drakri families huddled together. Parents held their children. Elderly couples clung to each other. When they saw Taejin's warriors, relief flooded their faces. But then Hannah heard something with her sharp ears. Footsteps. Many footsteps. Running toward the cargo bay. The pirates had realized something was wrong. They are coming, Hannah warned. 20 or more. We have 30 seconds. Taejin cursed. We cannot evacuate the hostages in 30 seconds. We will have to hold them off here. The Drakri warriors took defensive positions. The humans prepared their makeshift weapons. Hannah stood beside Juno, holding a plasma torch from their cooking equipment. It was not a real weapon, but it was something. The pirates burst through the door, armed and angry. What followed was not a clean, heroic battle. It was chaos. Plasma fire lit up the cargo bay. People screamed. Taejin and his warriors fought with incredible skill, but they were outnumbered. Hannah found herself facing a massive pirate who charged at a group of Drakri children. She could not overpower him. She was not strong enough. But she remembered what Juno had taught her about using intelligence over strength. She turned her plasma torch to maximum heat and aimed it at the floor in front of the pirate. The metal floor melted instantly, creating a barrier of molten metal. The pirate stumbled back, cursing. Juno threw a canister of cooking oil, which exploded when Hannah's plasma torch heated it. The resulting cloud of smoke and steam gave the warriors cover to reposition. All around the bay, humans and Dracry worked together. Jywin kept hacking pirate systems, locking doors and trapping pirates in sections of the ship. Saman guided hostages to escape routes. Miho coordinated movements like he was conducting an orchestra. Slowly, impossibly, they started winning. The pirates had more weapons, but the rescue team had better coordination. They had trust. They had teamwork. The pirate captain, realizing he was losing, tried to activate the ship's self-destruct system, but Jywin had already locked him out of the main controls. In frustration, he surrendered. 2 hours later, all 200 hostages were safe on Haven's Gate Station. 3 pirates were dead from the fighting. The rest were in custody. And miraculously, not a single hostage or rescue team member had died. The station plaza was filled with reunited families crying with joy. Yuna embraced her cousin and the 2 children, tears streaming down her face. She looked at Hannah across the crowd and mouthed 2 words. "Thank you." Taejin stood before his warriors and the assembled crowd. His armor was scorched from battle, but his eyes were clear and thoughtful. He looked at Hannah for a long moment, then spoke loudly enough for everyone to hear. "I came to this station to enforce our laws of exile. I believe that weakness must be removed from Dracry society to keep us strong." He paused. "I was wrong. Today I learned that we have been throwing away our most valuable people. We exile anyone who does not fit our narrow definition of strength. And in doing so, we exile our potential to grow." He walked over to Hannah and knelt before her, a gesture of deepest respect. "You are Dracry, perhaps more truly Dracry than those of us who cling to old ways and refuse to evolve. You honor our strength while embracing something greater." Hannah felt tears on her face. "I am not just Dracry anymore. I am also something else. Something new. I learned that from humans." Taejin stood and turned to address everyone. "The Dracry Empire will change. Slowly, perhaps, but it will change. I will propose to the Council that we establish exchange programs with humans, that we learn from them as they learn from us. And I will recommend that any Dracry who wishes to pursue different paths be supported, not exiled." The crowd erupted in cheers, though some traditional Dracry looked uncomfortable. Change was coming, whether they liked it or not. Taejin offered Hannah a formal position as cultural ambassador. It came with status, money, and respect. Everything she had lost when her clan exiled her. But Hannah looked at Juno, standing nearby with his warm smile. She looked at the small earth kitchen stall visible through the plaza windows. She thought about the life she had built, meal by meal, day by day. "Thank you, Commander," she said respectfully, "but I choose to stay here. This is my home now. These are my people, and I have more work to do." Taejin nodded, understanding his eyes. "Then I wish you well, Chef Hannah." Months passed. Earth Kitchen expanded into a full restaurant. Hannah hired other outcasts from various species, giving them the same chance Juno had given her. The restaurant became famous across multiple systems. One evening, as Hannah was closing the restaurant, she noticed a young Dracry girl sitting alone outside. The girl looked thin and scared. Her scales were dull. She had the same hopeless look that Hannah once had. Hannah's heart clenched. She knew that look. She had worn it herself. She prepared a bowl of her signature stew, the same dish Juno had first shared with her. She walked outside and sat down beside the frightened girl. "Share a meal with me," Hannah said gently, offering the bowl. The girl looked up with tears in her eyes, exactly as Hannah had done. And as she accepted the food with trembling hands, Hannah smiled. The cycle of kindness continued, one meal at a time, one person at a time, slowly changing the galaxy. This was a human way, and it was the best way Hannah had ever known.